and welcome to Icons of the Community, where I, Big D, Geekdom 101, talk to important and influential people of the Dragon Ball community. And joining me today, a man whom, if you have at any point in your life been on YouTube and searched for Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball, there's a very, very good chance that you've either seen a video of his, you've seen him show up in the searches. He's very, very well known. Without a doubt, one of the largest, maybe the largest, or at least one of the largest YouTubers and video game connoisseurs in the Dragon Ball community. Please welcome the legendary Rhymestyle.
Hey, thank you for having me.
All right. Ow. All right. So the thing about Rhymestyle, your name does kind of scour across the land here, and I wanted to bring you on here because you are a very important force in the community, a very loud voice, and I do want to thank you for coming on. Wanted to talk and let the people know a little more about you and kind of your history with this beautiful and somewhat inconsistent franchise called Dragon Ball, which seems to never end, which is a blessing for all of us, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start at the beginning. Now, you recently answered this question and talked about it in your recent Q&A. I wanted to ask you, a lot of people, because I feel from, I've only been on YouTube doing these videos since March, and there's a lot of people who might not know a lot about you, kind of are a little mysterious. A lot of people have assumed that you kind of were like an American kid that grew up watching Toonami, but that's actually not exactly the case. The reality is that you're not even American. That's you're a foreigner like me. So
yep, 100%.
What's the story behind that? Like tell us the story about you and how you ended up here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'm Bosnian, 100% Bosnian. I was born in Bosnia. And to those who don't know, in the early 90s, there's a war there. And when the war broke out, my family and myself, which included my dad, my mom, my sister, we moved to Germany. And I lived in Germany for 6 years. And then from there, we moved to the U.S., and that's where I kind of grew up my life. But I've been all over the world, essentially. But I'm 100% Bosnian. I'm a foreign kid. And, now you know. No, I'm not black. I get the question so much. I mean, if you saw my Q&A, that's all that's all it says. But I'm 100% Bosnian. I'm European.
Well, I think people look at the word Rhymestyle and kind of look at the way that you speak, and they kind of assume that, yeah. So let me ask you, what's it like living in Bosnia versus living here? Have you ever gone back? Do you have any memories of the differences culturally living there than here in the U.S.?
I've never gone back. My childhood was spent mostly in Germany and then in the U.S. But as far as Bosnia, we left early when the war happened, so I never really got to experience much of it. I grew up in Germany, and Germany was nice. It's a little weird, and there was a lot of tension there in terms of like ethnicity and stuff, because like obviously when foreigners come to your country, not that many people are too pleased about it. But it was still a nice place to grow up, and then I ultimately finished the rest of my childhood here in the U.S., in the Midwest, actually.
And now you're in the West Coast.
Yes, I am in the West Coast now.
Is it really the best weather in the world?
Oh, yeah. It's 100% the best weather. I'm actually getting ready to move back to SoCal because I've been living in San Francisco for the past 6 months, but I need my SoCal back. I need SoCal back.
I've heard it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper. My rent right now is ridiculous. But it's something I want to try out because I came up here for a job and figured, you know what? You can't experience something unless you try it. That's why I came up here.
Agreed there. See, that's one thing I like about you. See, here's the thing that I think a lot of people kind of recognize you as Rhymestyle, the YouTuber, and they don't really see you as kind of Dino the man. And I've gotten to know you a little bit here in the past few weeks, and there are a lot of misconceptions about who you are as a person. And one thing I will say about you that I know is that you are like legit. Like I feel in the limited time that I've known you that you are a good man. And the thing about you is this, is that I started this YouTube thing in March. Small fry, just trying to kind of get my name, known, and just kind of just doing it for fun. And you, without a doubt, have assisted me greatly in giving me exposure and working with me. And it's always fun. We get together and we do these videos, and you didn't have to do that. And I do appreciate that very much. And the thing, too, about you that I don't think a lot of people get, which I'm going to stress very, very much, is that even though I have put in a lot of work in my videos, and you certainly have helped kind of get my name out there in the YouTube community. The one thing that you've never done is you've never thrown it in my face which a lot of people would do. You've never come back at me and been like, yeah, well, those 20,000 subs, yeah, like 1,000 of them came from me. Like, you've never done that even jokingly, which is like such an incredible thing, bro. You know how hard it is to find somebody like that who's not like you've never done that before. And I think, like I said, people kind of, like, for example, when I dropped we first kind of conversed, right, when the whole red versus blue thing happened, and I dropped my video same time as you, and I kept saying, about the community being misinformed, and people were commenting in the video, Rhymestyle, and I was thinking they thought I was talking about you, and it's like, no, I wasn't talking about Dino, because my video came out the same time as yours. I couldn't predict when your video was coming. How was I supposed to know? And I was like, man, like, why do these people say that? But so this is a good opportunity, I think, for them to kind of understand that you didn't have to do what you did. You acknowledged that it was misinformation. You did a couple of videos about it, which a lot of other guys, which I'm not going to name, would not do. So at the end of the day, I feel that your humility, like, is a very rare quality, and I feel like you kind of deserve your success in many ways. Like, I think that you do. I really do.
Appreciate that. And in regards to that, I want to say we all make mistakes. There's
Everybody.
times where I've said something. See, here's my situation. A lot of people don't know is I actually have a full-time job. I work every weekday from I get up at like 6. I'm out by 8 a.m. and I'm back at 7 p.m. that night. And then from about 7-ish until 10, I spend time with my girlfriend and I record. Sometimes I will put out a video and then I'll leave for work, and then I'm kind of just doomed to not do anything until I get home. So people make mistakes, and if I do make mistakes, I will say that I've done a mistake and I've corrected it. Because it's really easy to read information and think, okay, this came from a good source, and then leave. And the next thing you know, you're on a shuttle, getting ready to hop on a train. You're reading all the stuff about how it's not what they meant with the whole Super Saiyan God, blue hair versus red thing. And then you're just kind of doomed. That's basically happened with me. But yeah, people make mistakes, and if you want to know us to make mistakes, don't be afraid to admit it. I've done it before many times, and I've done my best to clear it up every time I did.
Yes, you have, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't, and a lot of people just, I've never seen you as a guy who, and this is before I knew you. I've never seen you as a guy who has actually purposely given out any kind of misinformation, and there's people out there who have, and I've never seen you as that. I haven't told you this yet, so I'm dropping a bomb on you here, but I got a question on my Ask FM, a very weird question that I had no answer for. The guy was like, I'm gonna tell you exactly what he said. He goes, Rhymestyle's girlfriend's hot, how do you get that? And my response was, how the hell am I supposed to know? Why are they asking me this question? But obviously there's something you're doing right. And that's the thing that I want to talk about, is what you are doing right, But before we get to all that stuff, I want to talk about YouTube and all that. I wanted to ask you, how did you get into Dragon Ball? Was it something that you had gotten into in Germany? Because I know our buddy the Arcosian on YouTube, shout out to the Arcosian, he's still in Germany. He's doing he's told me all these stories about the German dub. Is that how you got into it, or was it when you were here?
No, but shout out to Same Gamer too, because I know he lives in Germany too. I got into Dragon Ball when I moved here. I remember it was on Toonami. We had just gotten cable, and I don't know what made me sit down, because previously when I heard Dragon Ball, I knew that some kids in my school watched it, but I was like, nah, I don't want to get into that. I'd rather go play video games and stuff. But then one day I sat down, I watched Toonami, and the next thing you know, I'm buying the VHS tapes. I'm looking up online. By the time I got to 7th grade, I was literally that kid that did not go a single day without talking about Dragon Ball. I had one friend, his name was Gabe, and both me and Gabe would have these battles about whoever knew more about Dragon Ball, which is probably why I dug so deep into it, because I always wanted to know more than him. So literally in my spare time, in like 7th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, I would just research everything that happened in Dragon Ball. Before it came out here in the US, before the movies came out, I would just sit there and research it nonstop. And then as far as how I got into YouTube back in like 2011, but I never really took it serious. It was just something that I did for fun on the side, because I discovered this gaming world out there, and I thought it'd be a fun thing to try out. But it wasn't until I uploaded my first Dragon Ball video where it kind of reminded me of the passionate Dino that I was in middle school, where I was like, just freaking blabbering about Dragon Ball. And the fact that when I did that and I saw there was a community on YouTube that existed, I was like, wow, I'm right at home. I need to do more of this. And that's just basically what happens. I just got really passionate about it, and I love the fact that there was other people that I could reach on the same level of passion as me. Some are a little bit more passionate, they get a little intense, but for the most part, I love this community, and it's just something that I enjoy doing.
And it's crazy because there's all these little pocket communities that I'm discovering now. Because I'm like you, like I didn't understand how big this community was. I knew it had a strong online presence. I knew about the Kanzenshu board and Staying Island, a bunch of these different websites. I knew about them, but I didn't know until I got to YouTube really how many people were really into this show. And it really is a lot of it because of Battle of Gods. Like they kind of came out of the woodwork when Battle of Gods came out. So you were the guy that was like downloading animated GIFs and
oh my gosh,
right?
yeah.
Those
Actually,
little Butoden ones.
Yeah, it's actually funny. When I was 9, I had I was on GeoCities, and in GeoCities you're able to basically make up your own blog. And what I would do is I would download my own GIFs and then upload them. I had my own like little Dragon Ball site that just had GIFs. And I would just save it to my folder. I had a folder that said Dragon Ball animated GIFs. It's because I really wanted to play the games, but at the time, no game was available for us. This is before Budokai came out. All we had was Final Bout, which is a game that was impossible to get. It was like $100 at the time, and me being 9, there's no way I could afford that. On top of that, my family didn't have any money. So all I had in terms of games was these GIFs. So I would just watch these GIFs and pretend that was me playing the games.
Dude, and the GIFs, the creepy thing about that website with all the GIFs, I may have actually been to that website at one point or another. That's kind of weird when you think about it, because I remember a website, it had like a gray background, and it had nothing but GIFs. Was that yours, or was it different?
No, well, GeoCities is a platform. So it was basically like the MySpace of 99. You're able to go back there and just create your own little...
well, I remember GeoCities.
Yeah. Yeah, you were just basically able to create your own sites, but then GeoCities died, and then MySpace came out later, and Facebook and all that good stuff. But GeoCities was like one of the original social networks that where I just found my Dragon Ball Z content from.
What is it about Dragon Ball that attracted you to the series, and what is it that you think attracts other people, like initially, and then kind of as you've gotten older?
It's a gateway. It is a gateway into anime because you have cartoons and anime, and as a kid. There's no kid out there that doesn't watch cartoons. We all do it. We still do it today. Yes. I watch cartoons today. Like nothing changed since me being a kid. But it wasn't until I watched my first anime, which was Dragon Ball, where I realized, wow, this is intense. This is an ongoing story. It's not just like one-off episode where it's like, 2 15-minute segments of like SpongeBob or something. This is like an anime that's going on, telling a story, and just epic. It's intense. It's just, I don't know. It was inspiring to watch because Goku was an awesome character to grow up under. Like I used to look up to Goku and be like, you know what? I'm be just like him. That's my role model right there.
And well, kind of, I guess, because I mean, he has done a few things that are kind of questionable, but yeah, I feel you. The thing is that I think you're spot on, dude, because as a kid in the '90s, we had a few shows. Like, okay, most of the shows that we had were episodic. Dragon Ball was one of the few that was like a serial. Like, we had a few exceptions, like the X-Men and the Batman animated series, which is kind of like a mix. But Dragon Ball was the first one that like went from the next to the next to the next to the next to the next. So you had to keep watching. You had to see what was going to happen.
Yep. And I remember being as a kid, I was so frustrated because on Toonami, it was a Saiyan Saga, and it would always restart. Every time it
Back to
started with
Raditz.
Yeah, it would be Raditz fight, and it's like right before Goku fought Vegeta, it would start over. Or when it finally got past and they're about to go to Namek, it would start over. And I remember I used to get so disappointed. I would wait all day to get out of school just to see the next episode to just get disappointed to see that they started over. And that's when I, again, jumped online and started watching everything online. But I don't know what it was. It just kept drawing me back. I just could not get enough.
And the fucked up thing, bro, is that cliffhanger that they left us on with the Namek arc, where the last thing you hear is the Ocean Dub narrator has Goku really become a Super Saiyan? And that's literally the last thing you hear. And then we're back to Raditz, and it's like, no, and it was the most frustrating thing. And so, okay, when that happened, you would go online. Would you like look up like some of the Japanese kind of clips just to see what would happen? Like, I'm assuming that what happened with you was if I'm wrong, correct me. You would look up like some of the stuff that was way down the line, like Gogeta, and you would probably be wondering, who the hell is that? Who's that guy? That's how I was.
Well, I was doomed. I had dial-up until 2008 back at home.
Really?
My parents just didn't believe in fast internet, and I was just screwed. I mean, DSL came out in like 2001 or something like that, and I was stuck with dial-up. So I didn't have the luxury of looking up clips. I had the luxury of reading a story. So I didn't read the manga because I didn't know what manga was at the time. So when I would look up Dragon Ball stuff, I would just
like
read the story, see what happens next, see this character, see the pictures, see the gifs, and that was basically my only source in Dragon Ball at the time, on top of Toonami.
Yeah, and
We were,
that's
we were
dude,
struggling out there.
and that's the crazy part, that somebody like you who essentially, and I'm not afraid to talk about it, essentially you're kind of creating your own business here, not just with the Rhymestyle channel, but also with Rhymestyle Games, which is just recently opened. You know, you've essentially somewhat created like an online business. Even though you do it for fun, it could still be a business. It's still gonna help you. I was
Hmm.
talking to QAAMAN about this in our interview, and we talked about how, you know, we don't like talking about like this Dragon Ball stuff is not really, it's more of a passion thing. It's not about the money, but
Yeah.
Kwame, one of his YouTube checks helped him put a down payment on a car. And to me, that's a beautiful thing, bro. Like, you know, you work hard in your video, you put a down payment on a car, dude. That's you like working for what you need. Like, and I've
Hmm.
always felt that if you're a hard worker, you deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I always
Definitely.
felt. So I wanted to
With
ask.
me, I will tell you right now, because I get this question all the time. Most of my money goes into living. I mean, like I said, rent's expensive. I live in California, but the big one is just loans. I went to college. I studied the wrong thing. By the time I got out of college, I got into the tech world, and basically my time in college was wasted. But I still got the bill for it. So most of
Right.
my money just goes into just repaying this loan that's going to be there forever over my life.
I
Hopefully,
used
one day it'll be gone, but that's where most of mine goes from into.
I used to be a student loan counselor, a senior loan for years, and yeah, I've seen that bullshit. It's
Yeah,
it's hard.
awful.
But it's just funny how people think that you're sitting there rolling around in money like Scrooge McDuck. And it's like, no, these loans will eat you alive. And here's the
Yeah.
scary part: if you don't pay them and you go into default, you're really screwed.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is the misconception is because we see PewDiePie, we see like all these people, these big YouTubers. Everybody else assumes that YouTubers make millions a month, and that's not
Nope,
that's not.
nope.
If you compare us to a real job, some of us, yeah, we can compare it to other jobs, but a lot of times we just make extra money on the side. It's enough to like get through a day. Like, I mean, I have a job for a reason. I can't live off of YouTube alone. Uh,
Especially not in California.
yeah, especially not in California and with these loans. Like, if I never went to college, actually, let's say this: if I never went to college and I just kind of focused on building my future up, I probably would have been okay. But those loans, man,
I
they're
know
evil, man.
they
If you go
are.
to college, everybody watch this. If you go to college, know what you're going for. Like,
But thank you,
sometimes you
bro.
need it, sometimes you don't. I'll just say that.
Thank you, dude. I'm so happy you said that, because some of my friends, like when I was younger, they would go and I would say, "What's your major?" "I don't know." "What's your major?" "I don't know." I'm
Yeah.
not worried. No, dude, you have to know what you want to do, because you're wasting your time, and more important, like you said, you're wasting your money.
I have so many friends who went to college who just were like, you know what, when I graduate, I'll have a job. That's not the case. Here's what happens. You go to college for 4 years. It's a fun time. It's a great experience. You know, you live on your own for the first time. You meet a lot of great people. And then college ends. And now you're just sitting there searching for a job. Now you got bills too, because you got the loans you got to pay back. But it doesn't go anywhere. You're usually just stuck there, had to figure out on your own. And lucky for me, most of my college experience was literally me locked in my room, networking. I actually work in music, and that's something a lot of people don't know. I work with a lot of artists on
Well,
many.
your name should give that away.
Yeah, that's where the name came from. I mean, I had the name in high school, but when I joined, the reason why I kept Rhymestyle is kind of like a musical name in hip hop, and that's why I kept the name whenever I got into online personas, like on Twitter, when I made YouTube and all that stuff. That's where Rhymestyle came from, and I've worked with a lot of artists. Like Lupe Fiasco, for example. One of the ones I'm currently been doing is Logic, which we just announced. The second album just got announced. It's coming out this fall, which I'm excited for. But I've done a lot of work in music on the digital side, because when digital kind of became a thing in music, not many artists knew what to do with it. And it was me to kind of, by the time I kind of had an idea of how to reach X, Y, and Z in terms of an artist reaching an audience. And that's what I kind of just, started giving them my advice. The next thing I know, I'm touring, I'm working with artists, and I'm in this world where I thought I was going to end up in after college. But it's funny because I was so passionate about it, but when I got out of it, when I got out of college, I did not want to be in music anymore. I do not want to be in that business. It is a tough world to be in.
Uh,
And then I kind of fell into the tech world, and then ended up on the West Coast, and then
so,
also the whole YouTube thing too.
so with we'll talk about that in a moment. The whole music thing, though, I was curious. Was it because of the political kind of side of it? Because I had always heard that. I have a buddy of mine who went out to actually to Hollywood, California, to do films, and he would always tell me, it was my dream to do this. And then when he got there, he's like, I can't do this because
It,
everybody's an asshole.
it's funny because my first job, I had an opportunity to actually intern at a record label that I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to say their name. And I remember the one thing I wanted at 15 was to work for this label. When I finally had a chance to, I realized there was, and excuse my language, there was so much bullshit at this label that I was like, I will never work for a record label ever. But then I found out that it's not just them doing this like this. Every label was like this. Every label was so stuck in 1999, and they didn't understand how anything worked. It's all the top dogs that were taking credit for everything, but it was the little guys that were actually doing all the work. But then no one really understood how anything works. They were just stuck in this stupid uh they're stuck in these stupid what's the word? I can't think of the word. They're stuck in these stupid freaking loopholes.
Okay. Yo, like contractual.
Yeah, they're not doing anything. And I'm just like, dude, I just want to do stuff. So that's when I started working. One of my favorite artists I've ever worked with his name is Quest. And what me and Quest did is every time we were told that we were wrong, we made a lot of noise. And some of you guys might know Quest, so a lot of you guys might not. But me and Quest, we did a lot of work in the world, and we we had a huge impact there. And then, of course, I'm sure a lot of you guys know Logic. Logic is an artist who did it right. And that formula right there is what's now. What record labels want is it doesn't work anymore. It's not about, getting signed and working with an A&R and getting developed. This time you create your own sound, you make your own fan base, and you get your music out. You don't need record labels anymore.
No, you don't. It's funny, dude, because I know you're going to know what I'm about to say. When I was growing up in hip-hop, because I was also a hip-hop guy, I was doing reviews for years. And it's funny because I made more money on YouTube in like a month than I did in 6 years doing music reviews because opinions didn't pay shit. But there was this whole underground versus mainstream thing. And I remember right around 2008, that whole thing died. Like, remember that underground, all the underground fans would say, oh, well, commercial rap sucks. And then the commercial fans would say, oh, well, the underground stuff, it's all obscure. But now, because of the internet, anybody can make a YouTube music video. Anybody has a camcorder. So at this point, the barriers of being mainstream and not, there's obviously still going to be favorites, but it's broken. Everybody can get their shit out there now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's funny, I wanted to ask you about that. So do you think that this world is kind of, not just with what your example, but also with the YouTube thing, it seems, and Twitch too, it seems like the world is kind of moving into this entrepreneur style of world where really nowadays anybody can become quote unquote internet famous and make money and make a profit and make a living. Do you think that this is something that's going to become more prevalent in the foreseeable future? Or do you think that it's possible that the bubble could burst? Because there is always that in the back of my head that one day Google's going to turn around and say, you know what? YouTube's changed and then we're all screwed.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up because something that I realized back when I was in music is if you really try and you strive to achieve anything, you can. When I jumped into YouTube, I never jumped into YouTube with the mentality of, oh, maybe I should try this and it might work. The mentality I've had since day one, even when I was getting 3 views a month, was I'm going to do this and this is going to work. This is going to work because I'm passionate about it. I'm going to make this work. I love doing this. I'm going to have fun with it, and it's going to work. And I'm going to stick to it. And whether you want to be a YouTuber, a musician, or you want to be just a guy that sells bikes out of some store, I don't care what your passion is. If you strive for a goal, you'll know how to achieve it if you want it to. If you don't achieve it, you didn't want to really do it. But if you want to achieve something, you'll make it and you'll figure it out. So even if YouTube breaks tomorrow, it disappears, if we want to keep doing what we're doing, we'll figure out a way.
There will always be a way. Yeah, and that I really hope that people are picking up on that because, dude, it's like life will – and life is not easy, bro. You are going to get hit in the face. Look at our buddy Toasty. Just a few weeks ago, he lost his channel and now he has it back. Like you don't know. Another example is Mike from LaughingStock Media. Mike started with 77 subs, kind of really bummed out, and now he's at 12,000 after he met all of us and kind of was able to work with us. So again, you just never know. And I always tell everybody, you never know what can happen. Like, take you for example. All right, you're at, as of this recording, you're at around 180-something thousand. Tomorrow, if PewDiePie finds your video and says your name one time, you might get another 100,000 just from him saying your name. You don't know. You know what I mean? You don't know. It's
although I wouldn't want that to happen. It's funny because what people also don't know about me is when I got into YouTube, I'd already been friends with a lot of big guys you guys might watch. Actually, it was Jericho and T-Mart who got me into YouTube, and I built this friend circle with a lot of top YouTubers, and I've never done videos with any of those guys. Mainly because when I got into YouTube, I wanted to do it on my own. And the thing that's like a misconception about YouTube is this, if so-and-so shuts me out, I'll blow up. That's not how it works. If PewDiePie shuts me out tomorrow and I get, let's say, 1 million subs, that doesn't mean anything to me because those guys came just because of PewDiePie, and it's not guaranteed that those guys will come back the next day. I want people who will come to my channel and keep watching it rather than that number. And a lot of times I know a lot of people are just in love with numbers on social media. Like, everybody wants to be verified. Everybody wants to have millions of followers on Twitter. But if no one's listening, does it really matter? If you want Twitter followers, go buy them. Like you can go buy them literally. Like if you want to just have that number next to you, that means nothing. You can go buy it. But those who really want to be heard, really want to get the message across and build a community, do it on your own. And when you do it, that's going to be a lot more meaningful than than skipping the hard work and doing the easy way.
I'll share a story that I actually haven't told you, but the first night I ever talked to QAAMAN, I remember he was he didn't really know he knew he had heard me, he didn't really know who I was, and he kept referring to me as, and actually when he first introduced me to you, he said, this is one of my subs, and I quickly stopped him with that because I told him, I said, let me tell you something, bro, and I talked to him, I said, look, Quinn, I go, listen, I respect your work, bro, but this whole my subs thing, and this is point blank how I feel, dude. This YouTube shit doesn't mean shit to me. I told him, I said, I love YouTube. We've all done very well. He certainly has, you have. But the reality is that real life shit, real life, at the end of the day, like you're going to have real friends who are going to really have your back. And that's the way I've always felt. Like, I love all of my subscribers. Trust me, I really, really do, and I'm sure you love yours. But they have their own lives to live, and I respect that. Whereas, let's say that tomorrow, heaven forbid, something happens to you, you lose your job. You're gonna have your real friends there to really pick you up. And that's the thing. Everybody gets hooked on this internet shit. Instagram, dude. Instagram's the worst. 'Cause it's like girls showing pictures of themselves. Look how hot I am. This and that. And it's like, don't you understand that? Yes, you are attractive, right? But these dudes, they don't give a shit about you. They really don't. And that's kind of the whole thing that I think people. It's just a modern thing. Before we move on to YouTube, I wanted to ask you. All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. 3 favorite rap albums of all time.
Oh my God, that's a tough one. Black Star's on top. Because I remember growing up, Black Star was my favorite album at the time in high school. That's Talib Kweli and Mos Def.
Are you Train of Thought? Are you kidding? No, Train of Thought was Kweli and no. You're thinking yeah, Black Star with Twice in a Lifetime.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
I grew up under that.
That's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I gotta go with Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor because that album kind of changed my outlook on hip hop. And then the third one, College Dropout, because College Dropout at the time was what made me look at music a different way. Food and Liquor made me pursue music because actually I remember I came back from a Lupe concert. It was my first concert of all time. I came back from a Lupe concert and it made me really jump into the world of music. And then Black Star was just an album that I've always kind of kept close to me.
Dude, Redefinition, all that. I absolutely, the song with Common, I think it was Respiration.
Yeah.
Dude, it's just every song on that album. And also their solo stuff too, like the Mos Def album, just, dun, 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 dun. Like my 3, I'll just share my 3. Me Against the World, because it's top to bottom, just every song. Yep. Illmatic, because it's freaking Illmatic.
Illmatic is my 4th on that list. Illmatic was almost like in the top 3, but the reason why I put it in 4th is because when I look back, I listened to College Dropout, Food and Liquor, and Black Star the most out of any album.
I will tell you this much. I absolutely positively love College Dropout. Like when he first came out, and he had the backpack. The
hunger.
Oh my God, bro. And then All Falls Down was like the first song on there. And it was just, it wasn't Lauryn Hill like it was supposed to be, but whatever. Yeah. And then my 3rd favorite, go ahead.
Let me just tell you real fast. I take it back. Illmatic, it was my 5th. My 4th was It Was Written. I wanted to only.
Really?
It Was Written more than Illmatic. That was actually the album that made me like Nas.
That shocks me because you are the only person who's ever said that.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, It Was Written has I Gave You Power, which is like a masterpiece. It's got the Affirmative Action song with AZ, Cormega, and Foxy. That's a classic. I mean, Street Dreams Are Made. And then, of course, go ahead.
If I Rule the World.
Dude, that song, that's like a perfect song. Yeah, that's a great album. Actually, a lot of people hate it on I Am, but I Am has some good songs too. The one after that.
I liked I Am.
Yeah, me too.
I grew up on Nas. You have to understand, like when it was to the Jay-Z Nas beef, I was a Nas stan. Like
so was I. Nas. Dude, I Nas was my favorite rapper for years. Just, and then he comes back with Stillmatic, and then Godson, where he's doing songs about his mom dying, and yeah, it was crazy. And then my 3rd favorite is the second Biggie album, because it wasn't originally, but after hearing it in my car over and over again.
Life After Death, that's my shit. It's actually funny. Let's go back to Nas for a second. When I moved out in California, one of my first experiences ever was, and this is, I always kind of found myself in like crazy situations, but one that kind of made me really realize how anything is possible was when I ended up in California, The next thing I know, I was sitting on the same table taking shots with Nas.
Really?
Yeah. And
How the
after
fuck
that
you
night,
pull that one off?
after that, it's a long story, man. But after that night, it made me realize, dude, literally, because like growing up, I'm like, I'm always like, listen to Nas, like that person was someone I was looked up to. His music was awesome. And next thing you know, I'm on the same like table with him. That's what made me kind of realize that there's literally nothing out there that you can't do. Nothing. Like if you guys want to do something, go out there and do it. Go out there, go after it. Go. Like I can't stress that
It can be
enough. Like if
done,
you
man.
really want it, go make it happen.
It's true, dude. I really hope people listen to this, bro. And they like when I say listen, I mean they're gonna listen, but I mean they listen, like pay attention, listen. You know what I mean? Because you never would have thought, like if somebody would have told you when you were like 15 that you were gonna end up meeting Nas, and what would you have said? You know?
I would be like, no way. Well,
Yeah.
I wish. That's what I said. I wish one day.
Jeez, dude. I mean that you're right, bro. I would stay up late listening to him, bro. Ether, just a catalog that's like hip hop is dead. I can't even think of a bad album from. I mean, I guess the fourth one, Nostradamus, was not the best.
Nostradamus was questionable. It had a few good songs, but it was questionable.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely. That "You Owe Me for Ice" song was. You owe me. Ugh. Anyways, back to Dragon Ball here. All right, let's get back to Dragon Ball. So you grew up a video game guy first. I don't know about you, but I wanted to ask you this question. I asked this to Donovan Morgan Grant, and I want to see if it was the same with you. When you first saw Dragon Ball, especially Dragon Ball Z, and you saw like the Kamehameha, and you saw Goku, in the intro with the Rock the Dragon having the gold hair, did it give you flashbacks of Ryu and Sonic? Because that's what it did for me.
No, actually, because I wasn't into Sonic until after Dragon Ball Z. In fact, the only reason why I wanted to play Sonic Adventure 2 was because I found out that Sonic has the ability to go Super Sonic, which made me think of Super Saiyan. And at the time, we didn't have any Dragon Ball Z games. It was the closest thing to a Dragon Ball Z game at the time was to play Super Sonic or to play Sonic Adventure 2 and go Super Sonic.
Or when you play Marvel vs. Capcom and you use the Shin Hadouken, it looks like Kamehameha.
Yes, Kamehameha. Yes, exactly.
Would you say Kamehameha when you hit it? Because I would.
Yes, I definitely would.
In the arcade, bro, I'd be like, Kamehameha, bro. People would look at me, but then you'd have a fan who would be like, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, no, and the thing about Sonic too, bro, Sonic stole so much from Dragon Ball, dude. Like the Robotnik rides around the ship. There's 7 Chaos Emeralds. Freaking Shadow is like Vegeta, basically.
Yep, exactly. Sonic Adventure 2 was one of my favorite games growing up.
Yeah, I love Sonic Adventure 2. Those, except for them damn Knuckles levels were so annoying.
I love those. Dude, they were
Were they really? It just took forever to find the damn thing.
It's just the fact that you had this game where you can just fly around and you don't have a timer or anything. You just kind of like, it's chill. And the music was awesome. And I loved just flying around and roaming the most rather than playing the missions. Like that's what it was all about to me.
Like Budokai 3, you do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, would you consider yourself like a gamer who's a Dragon Ball fan or a Dragon Ball fan who's a gamer? Like, what would you, if you had to like weigh out kind of, and I know you have 2 channels now, but if you had to weigh it out, where would you put yourself?
I was a gamer first. I was always, since I've played my first video game ever, I was 5. I was living in Germany at the time, and I went to the store and I saw a Super Nintendo set up with a Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2. And I played it, and I was like, oh my God, everything I do with the controller makes the person move. It's like, I'm in control. I can go on these adventures. And ever after that, it changed me. I went home. My dad bought me a bootleg Nintendo, a Super Nintendo. It was basically, it's called a Famicom. And It was the body of a Super Nintendo, but it was a Nintendo.
Family computer.
Yeah.
Right.
And with it had like 20 games automatically installed. It was kind of like an emulator type of thing. And I had like the Mario games. And then from there, I ended up, when I moved here to the States, I got a Nintendo 64 that I got out of a pawn shop, which broke a week later. I was so heartbroken.
Jesus.
I got screwed. But
We know what's funny about that is that it's funny you mentioned that Nintendo that has 20 games built in, because that's totally like a foreign thing.
Yeah.
In this country, okay, like I went to Cuba when I was like 10, and they had a Nintendo that had 1 cartridge with like 50 games on it, and I've never seen that anywhere outside of that, like Cuba. And then later on, when you grow up, you go on the internet, you're like, okay, well, somebody emulated this onto that cartridge, somebody in Hong Kong. But when you were a kid, right, you couldn't find this in North America.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all.
The foreign bootlegs are always awesome. So, yeah, and I want to get to kind of YouTube here real quick, just to kind of get into your head about the whole YouTube thing. Okay. One of the things that people, the misconceptions here about kind of your work, and now, first of all, you do 2 videos a day, every day, even Sundays.
Yes.
Sometimes more.
Ever since January of 2014, when I considered myself a full-time thing, where I said I'm going to do this, I've never missed a day. At least 2 a day. That's kind of the schedule. But if there's breaking news or something crazy that happens, I'll put out a third or fourth or fifth.
Whoa. Okay, now was your plan kind of to kind of flood the market, or was that just something that happened just because it happened?
I don't know. I mean, what I wanted to do was when I started doing Dragon Ball Z stuff, I always wanted to do something where I'm discussing theories because there's so many plot holes in Dragon Ball, and they're fun to discuss. It's always fun to see to bust out a theory and see what everybody else thinks because everybody has a different opinion. That's the cool thing about this community. Like when you say X Y Z, someone thinks ABC. It's always some kind of different opinion. And the thing that I always did since day one is I read the comments. I like to go through comments and see what everybody says, and that's what really made me get into discussions. But at the same time, I also wanted to do gameplays. I wanted to play games, and I remember it was J Stars that I got, and I was like, I want to play J Stars, but I want to do discussions too. So then I figured, you know what? Let's do one discussion a day and then one gameplay a day. And that's kind of like what happened on my main channel. And now that I got my second channel, I'm on top of the 2 I do on my main channel. Once I've moved in, I'm going to continue doing 2 a day on my other channel where I just do Let's Plays.
4 videos a day. And the thing is that people, I talked to you about this a few days ago, and I was like, how the hell can you do 4 videos a day? And you kind of explained to me how it's done. But the reality of the situation is that regardless of, even if you are having fun, it's still work, because you have to not only record yourself playing the game and do well. You can't just die every 5 minutes, because then people are going to get bored, even though you might, I don't know, maybe, but you also have to upload it, tag it, schedule it. All that stuff takes work. So it really is, like, it really does surprise me. I know Josh from Dragon Ball Nation was saying it does surprise me about how consistent you are in your work ethic. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about. So, or tell you about, and then kind of get to explain it to the people here. So the thing about your videos is that the difference between yourself and say a QAAMAN or a BLACKENFIST is that your videos are much simpler to digest as far as the mainstream audience goes, as far as kind of the way you structure them. And so a lot of people have kind of watched your videos, and not just yours, but other people, and like, okay, well, it's just he's talking over game footage. And I was always kind of thinking, okay, the discussion is good. There's video game footage from like whatever game was out, Battle of Z, Xenoverse, Burst Limit, which I'm glad you're showing love to now. And I would always wonder, like, why are so many YouTubers doing this? And then I get on YouTube and I discover this wonderful, amazing thing called a copyright strike.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, these people don't want me, even though I'm telling a documentary, even though I'm helping them sell DVDs, whether they want to admit it or not, they don't want me to use their footage. Can you explain to the people the game footage theory and why, again, clear up the misconception about why it's used?
So it's a cultural thing. Japan, when it comes down to YouTube, they don't really believe in it. It's kind of a weird thing to say that, it's 2015. There's a country that doesn't believe in it.
They don't even have a simulcast for Super yet.
Yeah, they don't have a simulcast for Super. Not just for Super, but a lot of animes don't get simulcast. They don't. I mean, I understand, because there's a lot of people that will just upload clips, and the original group of people that started uploading clips probably ruined it for all of us. It was their copyright piracy that killed it for the rest of us. Because now it's like,
you're talking about like full episodes.
Yeah, they're so anti-YouTube that you can just talk about Dragon Ball Super and get a strike. I mean, that's what happened to you.
Yes.
They don't really look into it. They don't really understand it, and that's the problem. That's the big problem there. And I knew this since day one, because I had a lot of experience with YouTube at the time, and I knew that if I use something that I don't own, I'll get in trouble for it. And that's the reason why I never, ever since day one, used clips or anything. I would love to do breakdowns where I'm actually showing the clips and stuff, but I can't.
Yeah, you're saying that you could, if you wanted to, actually meticulously edit things and make it look like the game theorist all you wanted, but you want to just avoid the drama, kind of? Is that what? Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
You could legitimately do this, get a strike, fight it, but then you have to go through the pain of fighting the strike. 30 days or whatever, right?
Not even that. It's just you could even claim it's education, because you are kind of like just talking about stuff, and you'll still get a strike for it. So the reason why I choose to use game footage is because we actually aren't. So here's the thing about YouTube. I feel like the original group of people who start uploading clips of fights, full episodes, whatever, ruin it for the rest of us, because that is what caused Toei and companies in Japan to go after YouTubers who did that. And because of that, even if it's a small clip, it's 3 seconds long, you are not allowed to do that. And I knew that since day one. I knew if I was to upload anything, from the show, I have a chance to lose my channel. It's like, why work years and years to build a channel that you can lose literally in a day because you used a clip? So since day one, I know people might think that, oh, maybe that YouTuber's being lazy. They just they just talk about gameplay.
That's the misconception, man.
Yeah, it's not that we're being lazy. It's just we literally can't. And yeah, you might say, well, some YouTubers get away with it. Yeah, they get away with it, but they have to deal with strikes. Like QAAMAN has to deal with a strike every couple of weeks. If you get 3, you're out. That's it. Game over. If you get 3 strikes in one run, you lose your channel. And that's it. There's no comeback. I mean, in like Toasty's case, they were false strikes, which I was able to talk to Funimation and get those removed. But if Toei was to strike us tomorrow, there's nothing we can do about it. I can't talk to Toei. I can't just call them back, hey, fix that, because they don't believe in it.
Mushi mushi? They wouldn't even know what the hell you were saying.
Right? It's game over. So and the other thing, the other reason why I always chose to just do talking about gameplay is a lot of times when I was coming up on YouTube, I would always get comments that say, I love going to work, or I love working out or doing my homework and playing the videos in the background. And now that's when I realized it's not that they're watching the gameplay; they're just sitting there listening to the actual conversation.
It's like a podcast,
yeah, exactly.
More so than video.
Something else people don't know about me: in college, I had a podcast that was, I'd say, it was pretty successful. I built it up from 0 subscribers to like 40,000. I did it every single week, every Friday, and every Friday I would get about 40,000 downloads. It was really fun thing to do, and I thought, this could turn into something. But ironically, the host I was with, mypodcast.com, shut down without telling anybody. Jesus. And just like that, poof, gone. Start over. Gone.
What? If you don't mind me asking, what was it about?
It was a hip hop podcast. So I would play music and I would talk about, XYZ.
And it's fucked up because now you can't even do that because they'll come after you for that now.
No, I can't do that. But from my experience with podcasts, I just always knew that it's not that they're coming for the gameplay or the visuals. They're coming for the personality and your thoughts and opinions and for the discussions. Like, that's what drives this community. And that's the reason why it's like, why spend so much time making visuals when you could possibly use your channel? On top of that, people are just coming for your opinion. So that's kind of like why a lot of us only use gameplay and then talk over it.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the big misconception, that people just thought, I mean, in some ways I can understand that it would be a little bit simpler than just actually meticulously editing, because of course, like, guys are the game theorists and, some of the super successful, like the guys who are like making 6 figures, seven figures in some cases, they'll sit there and they'll meticulously edit. But if you even watch their videos, you'll notice that they keep the clips very, very light for that very reason. Like, they know themselves, like, dude, Angry Joe, who's at how many million, has to deal with strikes himself.
Yeah. There's no invincibility against strikes. When it comes down to it, if the owner of something says no, that's it. You can't claim fair use. You can't claim copyright or whatever.
YouTube will always take their side.
You lose.
Yeah, even though you might be legally right, YouTube will take their side, what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. If I come out with a video, and I spend some time animating it, whatever, and someone uploads it, if I say take that down, you take that down. That's my work. That's my work. And that's how these companies feel. So it's like, the way they see it is we're stealing their money, and they don't want to do that. So that's why it's like, unless I always stress this a lot to new YouTubers, if you didn't create it, don't use it. And even it includes music too, especially music. The only reason why I use gameplay and music from Dragon Z Games is I've always had like direct permission from Bandai Namco to use the gameplays and the music, and I know they don't send out strikes for that. So that's the reason why I always use DBZ game music and DBZ gameplays, because I know it's fair. It's fair game. Anything else, stay away from.
Namco. Now, did you get the permission from Namco before you started using game footage or after? I never put a timetable on that.
After. So when I got into it at the time, I didn't really know much about copyright in terms of gameplays and stuff. I was just kind of doing what everybody else was doing. But at the time, when I was growing up, I think I had like 500 subs at the time. I somehow got connected to Bandai Namco, and they knew who I was, and they were very, very okay with me using their gameplay, because it's like the way they see this is we're helping them promote their games. And that actually was very evident when Xenoverse came out, because they actually told me when I was in their office sometime after the game came out, if it wasn't for the Dragon Ball Z community on YouTube, Xenoverse would have nowhere near sold as much as it did.
And at the same time, concordingly enough, it's very funny. It really is a symbiotic relationship, because had it not been for Xenoverse, you, Thundershot, may not have had so much success.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
We don't make money from Bandai Namco. There's never one time where I've accepted money from them, because like the way I see this is a lot of YouTubers, when they get big, they want companies that kind of help them grow to pay them. And the way I see it is it would be nice to make money from companies like Bandai Namco on sponsor stuff, to pay rent and stuff. But like the way I see it is if it wasn't for their games, I wouldn't have a channel. So I was always just like, you know what? These guys have also been great to me. They provide content for me, and I provide promo for them. That's just how it was. And that's just the way they see it as well. That's why they're okay with the YouTube community using their gameplay.
you know, you are a very intelligent man, and the thing about you is that I like this interview because it's not just about Dragon Ball. We're kind of doing some life tips, and one of the things that I felt that you've done very efficiently for yourself is that you've networked out. You've spoken to, Funimation, Namco Bandai. In your opinion, I'll tell you some stuff about me in a minute, but in your opinion, how important is like networking and negotiations to the success of any business, not just YouTube, of any business?
It's the most important part. Like I said, if I didn't spend all my time networking in college, I would be jobless right now in Indiana.
You know, it's funny because most of the jobs that I've had in my life, like IT positions, most of the ones that have paid very, very well have not been on Career Builder, not been in the newspaper, not been on Monster. They're literally people who worked there, who I made friends with, who called me up to work there. And that's the thing that I've learned about life, is that a lot of times it's not about what you know, it's who you know. So even though, like you said, you go through your 4 years of college, you have a degree, you're thinking, okay, I got a business degree, I'm going to be running Microsoft. No, buddy, you're going to be managing a Walgreens at 3 in the morning. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Almost all my friends who graduated with a higher GPA than me still don't have jobs. Well, they got a job out of college that they kind of settle for. I don't know anybody that ended up with their dream job after college.
No, and it's hard. I mean, dude, it's a bitch.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I think that networking is so, I think it's so important, and philanthropy too, but I don't think anybody's going to do that right now, but maybe someday. But no, networking has always been very important with anything. I mean, people look at me and they say, okay, I'm not trying to in any way make myself look good when I say this, but people are like, okay, well, you came up from nothing, because I started in March and I've surpassed a lot of people who have been around longer than me. And it's because I've been able to network with the QAAMANs, with yourself. And so I feel like I'm a pretty good example of what you can do if you network people. And one of the things that you don't want to do, and I'm not going to name any names here, is if you want to be successful at anything, you want to try to alienate the least amount of people possible. Because there's some YouTubers who I'm not going to name who have gone on a rampage about ranting about other YouTubers publicly, and people will see what you're saying about them and they won't work with you.
Yeah, and I mean, I there were times when I was coming up where I was just like, why is that person, getting views for this? Like their content is crap. But over time, I realized it's not that it's crap. I need to just focus on myself. I need to get to the point where I'm making content that people enjoy, and that was kind of like my big goal. Like I never spent time looking at what others did. I just focused on myself. I knew where my vision was, where I was going, and that's all I kind of focused on.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about now. I'm glad great segue, because I want to talk to you about that. I think there's a lot of people now, since you've had your success, I've noticed there's a lot of people who want to be like you. There's a lot of Rhymestyle clones out there who kind of do videos in the same format as you. Sometimes they'll steal your topics. Sometimes they'll do like, obviously the game footage thing, we already know why, but and I'm always of the opinion, I have always been of the opinion that if you want to be successful, you can't be the next Rhymestyle. You have to be the first you. You have to be different. You have to offer something different to the table.
This is why I love expert games. Expert games. So to break into the Dragon Ball Z universe, or on YouTube, it becomes a lot tougher and tougher because everybody's kind of doing the same thing. Everybody's reporting on the same news. Everybody's doing the same topics, and you have to stand out. And expert games, he's been growing like crazy. He's been going crazy. Why? Because he has a different spin on the stuff he talks about. Like all his content was like top XYZ. It's fun. It's fun to watch. So if you want to be a Dragon Ball Z YouTuber, or any YouTuber at that, figure out what's different in your community. Be yourself. Don't just do YouTube because you think it's cool and you want to be, you want to do it just because like other YouTubers are doing it. You have to be passionate about it. You have to know what you want to do and just make it happen.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get to, kind of some of your tips for up-and-coming YouTubers. For me, like, in my opinion, I'll go first because you probably have more than me. But for me, one thing I've learned, not just about YouTube, but also podcasting or anything, even like if you're an actor, any of that stuff, screenplay writing, it doesn't matter what you're doing that's creative, because I think that we are creative people, and I think that everybody listening should go out and check out Roberto Blake's channel, and because Roberto Blake is this inspirational kind of motivational speaker, and he always talks about creating awesome content, and he sells these t-shirts that say create something awesome today. And my thing has always been figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, like because for some of us, like for example, BLACKENFIST is a tremendous editor. I think he's very good at editing. QAAMAN too. I'm not the best editor. What I think my strengths are is I have been doing podcasting for years before I did YouTube, so I have a good vocal range. I can speak very well. And, of course, my Dragon Ball knowledge. That's where I stand out. Now, if you're listening to this and you don't have that knowledge, maybe you can be a really good editor like Expert Games. Maybe you've got ideas for topics that you and I or anybody else has not come up with. Everybody should figure out what they're good at and then do it and not try to be the next, Geekdom or the next QAAMAN. There's so many freaking guys doing what ifs, and it's like you're not gonna do what ifs better than QAAMAN. You might do a couple that are all right, but you're just not gonna do it on that level. He's pretty much cornered the market on that, So what other tips would you get? Well, before I ask you that question, one more thing I want to say is Expert Games is a great example of somebody following what you just said about not giving up. Expert Games lost his channel. He lost his original channel. He didn't quit. He didn't cry to his mom. He came back with a fury and is now like double my size and getting even bigger. He's probably going to hit 100K by April, maybe even sooner. And that's a great example of somebody who life unjustly took an opportunity away from them, and he said, fuck it, I'm going to make my own opportunity. And he did.
Exactly.
So what else would you tell the up and coming, not just YouTubers, but anybody in any kind of media?
To quote Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Just do it. Like, just straight up do it. It's funny. I've asked a lot of YouTubers, like, what would you do if you lose your channel? And their answer was always just like, I'll figure something else out. No, the answer is you start another channel and do it all over again. Like, I have a bunch of friends. Like Gold Glove actually is a good example. Gold Glove, I think he lost a channel twice, and now he's back. He's at 1 million right now. He is one of the top Twitch streamers. You don't give up. If you give up, you're not doing the right thing.
And what irritates me too is like when somebody actually hits a level of success and then they just give up. Like some guys have hit like 10,000, and that's a great number, and they just give up. Like they hook up with a girl, she throws it in his face, and all of a sudden, and that's a young guy,
get burned out. It happens.
What was the name of that guy? I think you know who I'm talking about.
Powell.
How the hell did you know? Storm Powell has 50,000 and he just quit. And I'm like, dude, do one video a month.
It's funny. I mean, with Storm Powell, I never knew him when I was jumped into his world. By the time I think I was like, when I got to 40K, that's when I found out who he actually was. But he already quit by then. Storm Powell is a guy that just got burned out. And something to also state, do not get burned out. If you get burned out, you're in the wrong community. Or you're doing the wrong thing.
You're talking about being consistent.
No, just burn. It's easy to burn out. Like Storm Powell's case, he just didn't want to do Dragon Ball Z anymore. I think he tried to do other games and stuff, and it just didn't work out as well. The curse about the Dragon Ball Z world is if you become a DBZ YouTuber, that's all people really want to see. I can do I started my gaming channel, and I'm doing Metal Gear Solid right now, and I still get comments like, "Hey, play Budokai 3, play Raging Blast, whatever." It's like, dude, I've already did that.
You already did it.
This on a separate channel now because I want to do expand. But if I was literally just doing something over and over again that I wasn't a fan of, like Storm Powell, I would get burned out, and that's what happened with him. He just got burned out, and he quit, and he just exited. Which is funny because his channel still kept growing. I think he quit when he had like 30K or something, and next thing you know, he's at 50K, still growing, but he had quit a year ago.
I remember that video he put out, and the thing is, let me ask you about that. Do you feel, and no disrespect to him at all, but do you feel that maybe he wasn't as dedicated to Dragon Ball as like you and I were? Like he wasn't that big of a fan, in your opinion?
I can't speak of it because I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I didn't watch enough. Like I said, I didn't know who Storm Powell was until after I was in the community.
Because the thing with me is there are days, and this happens to all of us, where we wake up and we just don't want to edit. We just want to take the day off. And I'm always like, okay, like, a few of the other guys I work with, like Super Jan and Mike, and, they're like, oh, man, I got all this video. I'm like, dude, just take it easy, little by little, like, cut your video up into pieces. There's things you can do to kind of like, prevent yourself from getting burnt out. There are ways to do it. I think sometimes guys like QAAMAN will spend 8 to 10 hours editing a video, and I'm like, and I respect that, but I'm like, man, when you get done with this, bro, go have a drink or something, just chill.
You just have to figure out what you're passionate about. In my case, the reason why I don't get burned out doing 2 videos a day for the last almost 2 years is because I'm really passionate about this. Like, People might think I'm doing this just to be on YouTube, but I actually love talking about this. I love nerding out over this.
Yes.
After I record my video, me and my girlfriend will literally sit there and talk about what I just discussed. I'm just really into this, and that's what makes me enjoy it so much. As a Storm Pal, I can't speak on because I don't know how passionate he was about it. I don't know if he fell into YouTube and then realized, oh snap, there's a Dragon Ball Z community out there, and then tried to do something else or what. But I just know once you get burned out, there's no coming back from it.
You basically are saying you have genuine love and affection for Dragon Ball and video games as well. That's pretty much like your thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So, put you on the spot, bro. Top 3 favorite video games of all time.
Oh boy. Gosh. Okay. Fallout 3. There's no order here. Fallout 3. Final Fantasy 8, not 7. 8.
Really? I'm gonna talk to you about that in a minute, but go ahead.
And for the last one, I'd say Skyrim probably.
That's
Bethesda right now, man. Bethesda. And the reason why I picked those is Final Fantasy 8 was the first game that I played as a kid that I really fell in love with. Followed by Metal Gear Solid. Final Fantasy 8, I obsessed over.
And they came out right around the same time.
Yeah, and it was Final Fantasy. It was just great. The adventure, the journey. It was just awesome. I loved the story of it.
So you like 8 more than 7 and 6?
Yeah, 100%.
That's very rare.
I actually could not play 7. I went back to 7 after I played 8, and I just couldn't really play it that much. I mean, I never beat it actually. That's a funny thing. I never beat Final Fantasy 7.
Never heard anybody say that, but you.
I know. I mean, I plan on playing it when it comes back out. But Final Fantasy 8 at the time had my heart. It was weird. It's like watching Dragon Ball Z first and then playing Dragon Ball GT. Oh no. Here's a better way. It's like watching Dragon Ball Z first and then going to Dragon Ball. It's great, but Dragon Ball Z versus DB, it's what do you like better? It's like I grew up under Dragon Ball Z. It's weird going backwards, and that's just how I felt at the time.
But a lot of people have.
Yeah, had I played 7 first and then the 8, I probably would have had a different opinion. But 8, just the story, the experience, I remember the memories. It was perfect for me at the time. And then Fallout 3, I don't know what it was. I just could not stop playing. Yeah, Fallout 3 was awesome. I loved it. I can't wait for Fallout 4. And then Skyrim, just because I love Oblivion. I think I actually might like Oblivion better, but Skyrim just had so many more improvements that it makes me like the game better.
Before we get back to Final Fantasy, I have a question for you. I was gonna say it's interesting about the Z and Dragon Ball thing because I have started to watch Dragon Ball with my fiance, and we started with Dragon Ball first, and now we're in Z, and it's interesting the perspective because when you first start Dragon Ball Z, the main character dies right at the beginning, and you find out he's an alien. When you start with Dragon Ball, you're already familiar with this character and with all the other Z fighters. And it's funny because a lot of the Z fans will sit there and they'll make jokes about, Tenshin Han, Yamcha, when really these guys had great stories told Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
But here's what's funny is that she's watching it with me in Japanese, and a lot of the American Funimation Toonami fans will say things like, oh, well, I hate Goku's voice as a girl. They'll say, I don't like the Japanese score, all these different things. And my fiance, because she started with Dragon Ball, totally different. She thinks that Shemmel sounds weird, and she's not crazy. And she also, what's trippy to me is that she actually likes Dragon Ball more. Like, she likes Dragon Ball more than Z, which a lot of people don't agree with, but she does. And when you look at it from objectively, even though Z's more popular, you can kind of understand because the story of Dragon Ball, forget Z, does have like a perfect arc.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
It's awesome. It ends with him getting married. And as you know, bro, soap operas always end with the wedding. And then what about the fact that at the last scene before, he flies off with her, Roshi is like, Kami's like, I should have never made these things. And then Roshi's like, because you made these things, these people are all friends now. And that's like a perfect ending. Like, that's and it's just funny how interesting the perspective is for Dragon Ball versus seeing Z first.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm glad you said it. I think what you watch first is what imprints on you. And so that's what I was saying about Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 8,
yeah. If you watch, I remember actually when I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I watched half of it in English, and then the rest of it was only in Japanese at the time. And when I switched, it felt really weird to me. I was able to watch it because I finished it, but I feel like whatever you experience first, it's what's going to imprint on you. I watched DBZ in English first, so when I go to Japanese, it's weird to me. I watched Full Metal in English first, and then when I went to Japanese, it was weird to me. Naruto, I watched in Japanese first, but then going to English, it was weird to me. So it's like what you watch first, experience first, is what imprints in your mind, and that's kind of like what you get used to.
So now that you're watching Super, in Japanese. We have no choice as of the recording of this. Are you kind of, even though obviously it's not perfect, just out of curiosity, are you kind of now getting more used to the voices? Because I've noticed that with people when they go from dub to sub, first that Goku voice from Nozawa is a little bit jarring, but once you watch the whole series, you get used to it. Like, that's Goku.
Yeah. Well, with me, I had a lot more time to get used to it. When I first watched it as a kid, it was weird to me. But since I've had freaking years and years of experience of watching the sub version of Dragon Ball, it doesn't faze me anymore. So that's why when I watch Dragon Ball Super, I'm not paying attention to the voice that a lot of people don't like. I'm okay with it. In a way, it imprinted on me again.
Yeah, it's just you get used to it, and that's the thing I don't understand about these kids, man. Oh, he sounds like a girl. No, you just watch it start to finish, and then you appreciate her vocal performance because she's fantastic. And
she's great.
She is. Schemmel, I mean, he did so good in Kai and so good in Resurrection F. She is just as good. She is Goku. I was going to ask you about Final Fantasy VIII here. Okay, I'm just curious. A lot of people have criticized that game because of like the fact that Squall is like a little bit emo and right, like, but so what was it? It was just the fact that it was like that wide open world because I noticed that about these 3 games that they have this wide open world.
I think it was just the experience of playing a game that massive that made me enjoy it so much.
It's funny because I love that game when I was playing it. When I finished it, I was a little bit let down because I expected more, but I wanted more. Like the entire 4th disc is Ultimisia's castle, right? Yeah. You expect it to be like something else, and then the thing about that game though that I will always defend. Number one, it looks great. It's a great looking game.
Yeah.
But the fucking Ultimisia music, bro. When they took the old school Final Fantasy battle song and they remixed it for her, you know what I'm talking about? Where it starts out all scary and then dun, 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 dude, that's like the best.
It just gave me chills thinking about it,
bro. And she's like hanging upside down, all weird and creepy and shit. And then it's like, how's it go? It's like, dude, just she's like time will compress.
I have the soundtrack on my computer right now.
Dun, 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 dun. And dude, to me, that is the best Final Fantasy final boss song. Everybody wants to suck on, the proverbial penis of One Winged Angel, but to me, the Ultimisia song is the best one.
Yeah, it's awesome. And going back, like that's one of the things that was great about the game. And like overall, there was so many great aspects of it. The music was awesome, the story was awesome, the journey, everything all together is what made it a great game for me. It made it on top of my list.
Did you ever hear that theory about how it's one of those wacky fan theories that people claim to be true, but we don't know for sure, that Squall died at the end of disc 1 and that the remainder of the game is like a dream and it's like his last
I've never heard that.
I gotta send this to you, bro. So remember how in disc 1, like he gets shot through the chest with that ice pick?
Yep.
Yeah. Apparently there's a popular theory where the rest of the game is off because the characters are acting weird, and then like at the end when you like finally win and you're like kissing Renault or whatever, like you notice that things start to peel apart, and that's supposed to be the game telling you that he's actually dying. And that
don't say that to me. Don't say that to me,
bro. I'm gonna send it over. I don't believe it.
I gotta check that out. Send that over.
It's like that whole it reminds me of that whole theory where have you ever heard that theory about how in Fresh Prince Will Smith actually died on the way to Uncle Phil's house, and when he gets there, it's a metaphor for heaven?
No, I've never heard that, but the one I did hear is Ed and Eddie.
Which one was the Ed and Eddie one?
That they're all in purgatory, all the kids.
I remember. Okay, somebody did send that to me. Yeah, dude, I love when people come up with that shit, man. I love it.
It's crazy. It's right of childhood when it happens, but it's some pretty good theories out there.
All right, so we've done top 3 for music and games. All right, this is the last thing before we get out of here. Top 3 Dragon Ball moments. I don't care if it's Super, Z, Battle of Gods, fucking your top 3 moments that you love the most.
Oh my God, you can't put me. It's funny, you put me on the spot so many times today, and I just instantly answered. But with this one, this is a tough one. And it shows you I love Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z universe. It's hard to choose. Okay,
it's tough. Seriously.
Okay. Classic ones out of the way. Goku going Super Saiyan. I remember the first time I saw that, and 2. Easily Gohan going Super Saiyan 2.
Those are my top 2 also.
Yeah. The problem is what is third? That's the question that I don't know if I can answer this. Oh my God. What is my third favorite? Like this is a really tough one.
A lot of people will say Vegeta when he killed himself against Boo. That's one
That's
that's
one of my
popular.
top. That's one of my top. But like, if I had like a top 10, it'd be easy to do. But if I'm having to choose like one last one,
All right, well,
just
fuck it. Top 5.
top
Pick 3
5.
more.
Definitely Vegeta when he blew himself up. Vegeta when he went Super Saiyan, I should say. I love when Gohan showed up against Boo, and Boo was like, "Do you want to fight me?
No, I want to kill you.
I want to kill you." Like, there was so many moments in Dragon Ball that they were so epic. It's just hard to name the top, but top 2 easily off the top is Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan and Super Saiyan Goku.
So, one of my, I mean, I'll just say one of mine real quick. I love, and this is purely, with all due respect to Faulconer fans, he didn't really capture this moment. Well, actually, no, he didn't. It was Nathan Johnson who was doing the music during this time. When Goku first lands on Namek and he gets out of the ship, and I put the clip on Twitter recently, and he senses that Gohan's neck is broken, and he's like, you know, he just gets out, and then all of a sudden you see the big Kaioken, and then they play that music, that dun 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 dun, and then he shows up in the battlefield, and then fucking elbows this motherfucker. That was one of the best, dude. That was just chilling stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, last thing, bro. What is your favorite fight in all of Dragon Ball?
Oh gosh, here we go again.
All right, I know there's a lot of them, dude.
Favorite fight in Dragon? Oh, Goku versus Frieza, easy, hands down.
Really? I know a few people will say that. Why? Because it's so long, or like, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I watched it a lot in my childhood. It kept repeating over and over again. But I just loved seeing that it developed. Like the whole time Frieza is toying with Goku, and then when Goku all of a sudden gets his power, it gets real.
Yeah, I actually, I'm still debating. I love, and people who have not seen this need to go back and see it. And, you know, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen it, but you got to check out Goku and Piccolo at the tournament.
Yeah, no, that one's awesome. Slept on. Another one that was good was
So violent.
Tien versus Yamcha in Dragon Ball.
When he broke his leg?
Yeah.
And you hear it cracking?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dragon Ball
my
had
God.
some good fight scenes. It's weird going backwards because they're not like flying at, you know, super speed. But like the way they orchestrated those fights were genius.
Martial arts style. Yeah, that's why I was happy in Resurrection F when they went
Yeah,
back
when they
to
brought that back. They brought that back.
Yeah, Ten Shinhan's doing like that Ronda Rousey armbar to those. Yeah. Oh, dude, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I wish we see more of that in Super. All right, well, let's get out of here. Thank you, Dino, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yes, thank you. No, I mean, and you're always welcome on. And check out Rhymestyle on YouTube. I will link in the description below his channel, as well as Rhymestyle Games, which is where you play, I guess, non-Dragon Ball games, right?
Just anything that's a series that takes like episode 1, 2, 3, or 4 type of thing.
Like Metal Gear Solid 5 right now.
Yep. Exactly.
How are you liking that? Because everybody's losing their mind.
It's awesome. It's absolutely incredible.
Dragon Ball Nation's like, dude, I can't make videos anymore.
It's tough. Like the problem with me is I'm playing the main missions on YouTube, and since I don't have like, you know, all the time in the world to do that, I have to basically wait every time I record to keep playing the missions. Otherwise, I'm just stuck doing free roam stuff in between, which sucks. But
that's the only problem that I have with recording myself playing games, that I kind of want to explore, but I can't.
Yeah,
you know,
it's definitely something that takes time getting used to.
Yeah. All right. Well, check him out, folks. Thank you, and I'll catch you down the road.
One last thing I was going to say.
Go ahead.
If there's anything else that people want to know, any random question and stuff, just drop it in the comment section below, and I'll answer.
That's right. Sure. And yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be stuff like, well, what about this? What about that? Just drop it in the comment section below, and I'll answer.
Definitely. All right. Yeah. No, without question. All right. Well, thanks everybody again, and thank you, and I'll catch you down the road.